Tonight, the power of political attack ads. As the Texas races ramp up, we're looking at the effectiveness of going negative.
We're all in on that.
Congressman Beto O'Rourke joins us in studio to discuss his bid to unseat Senator Ted Cruz, why he says this election is feast or famine for his political career. Then, an Austin area business bypasses a court ruling and begins selling 3D gun blueprints. Capitol Tonight starts right now. Thanks for joining us here on Capitol Tonight. I'm Karina Kling. We are 55 days away from the start of early voting in Texas for the midterm elections, and campaign ads are already going negative. We saw our share in the 2016 election, and 2018 is looking to be no different. Senator Ted Cruz's team just dropped their latest against his opponent, Beto O'Rourke, today. It shows the Republican candidate in the thick of recovery during Hurricane Harvey, while saying O'Rourke voted against hurricane relief funding. More on that a little later in the show. But experts say attack ads can be extremely effective. Our Catherine Giese looks into the power of the political attack ad.
No, it's not a new strategy.
This harks back to the arguments at the time of the founders.
But studies show us more and more candidates are going negative with their ads.
They can be more memorable. They can have a little bit more bite to them.
Congressional studies expert Brian Jones says attack ads instill anger and fear, emotions that are hard for most to shake.
General, if war comes, is this country really ready? It is not.
Do you have a memory of a particular attack ad that rings a bell with you?
I remember the Willie Horton ad quite clearly because it was a George H.W. Bush ad against Michael Dukakis. And it wasn't a pleasant thing because it raised racial fears.
While negative ads are nothing new, University of Texas advertising and public relations professor Angeline Close-Scheinbaum says the way candidates are attacking is different, a little more personal.
Look, if you can't attack the message, attack the source.
In the heated 2016 presidential election, a study by the Center for Political Communication and Civic Leadership found that nearly 74% of Hillary Clinton's ads and 35% of President Donald Trump's were character-focused attacks. Experts say the psychology behind an attack ad's success is simple. Humans are drawn to the negative.
So think about this. You go out to a nice restaurant, you expect it to be good and pleasant. If it's not, you tend to talk about it. And the research shows that people tend to talk a little bit more about negative events than positive events.
A strategy Texas candidates are closely considering in order to paint their opponent in a lasting negative light. For Capitol Tonight, Catherine Giese.
Another study by that same group mentioned in the story shows that the use of negative attack ads has more than doubled since 2000. There are candidates this election cycle who say they're steering clear of the negatives. Ted Cruz's challenger, Beto O'Rourke, is one of them. O'Rourke stopped by the Capitol Tonight studio earlier today to talk attack ads, debates, and his plan to reform the criminal justice system. Congressman O'Rourke, welcome back to the program.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
I want to start with the attack ads because over the past 2 days, your opponent Ted Cruz has put out 2 digital attack ads. One was on the NFL protests, which the video of you speaking to that went viral. But I want to focus on the other one, which was about Hurricane Harvey and voting against tax breaks for victims. I want to play just a little bit of that ad.
Sure.
Congressman Beto O'Rourke, so irresponsible that he even voted against Hurricane Harvey tax relief.
So why did you vote against this, as the senator is calling you out on there?
You know, first of all, those tax cuts were a fraction of the tax cuts afforded to those who survived Superstorm Sandy on the East Coast. I wanted Texans to be treated just as fairly as anyone else in this country. In addition, it was part of a larger FAA reauthorization bill that failed to reauthorize the children's health insurance program in Texas. So we were being asked to give marginal tax cuts, not in any way close to what was necessary. at the same time that we were not going to reauthorize a program that hundreds of thousands of children in the state of Texas depend upon to get medication, to be able to see a therapist or a doctor. I will tell you that I have voted for and supported tens of billions of dollars in aid to Southeast Texas and those communities like Rockport and Port Arthur, Port Aransas, and Houston that were hit by Harvey. And I was just there on the 1-year anniversary, including being there many times before that. So this is important to us. We voted for the aid there, but that one bill did not make sense to me.
I mean, you are one of 4 Democrats, Texas Democrats, to vote against that. Do you regret it, or do you think this will affect you at all with people in Houston, with people in the coastal communities?
No, I don't regret it, because we were able to stand up for those children who need to be able to see that doctor or provider. We were able ultimately to get CHIP reauthorized and funded, and we were also able to get the aid to the communities that needed to rebuild homes and businesses, the investment in infrastructure that will mitigate the damage from the next Harvey or the next storm or the next flood that hits Southeast Texas. So I feel very good about being able to work with Republican and Democratic colleagues alike to make sure that we got needed aid to that part of Texas.
We've seen Cruz put out several negative attack ads now. Will you go negative at all?
You know, I'm not running against anyone. I'm not running against anything. I'm definitely not running against another political party. I and so many people in Texas are running for something great. We want to make sure that this country lives up to its promise. And now, whether that means a world-class public school education for every child because we've paid school teachers a living wage, whether that means going from the least insured state in the country to the state that leads the way on universal guaranteed high-quality health care, or with Harvey in mind and this state understanding the effects of climate change better than any other, we could be the people who help ensure that this globe does not warm another 2 degrees Celsius, that we make the right decisions now while we still have time, and help to create the kind of high-value, high-skilled jobs in Texas that come with being #1 in wind energy, soon to be #1 in solar or geothermal. I want us to lead on our ambitions. I want us to lead on the big goals before us. And so we're going to stay positive and we're going to stay aspirational. That's who we are as Texans.
So no negative attack ads from here until
No.
Election Day. I do want to talk to you about debates. I know yesterday you said that this first proposed debate that was supposed to happen on Friday is not going to happen. Why not, and when will they?
Yeah, I'm confident that we will have a debate. I'm confident that we'll have more than one debate, and that the people of Texas will be able to make an informed decision at the ballot box. The challenge really has been that after inviting Senator Cruz to talk about the format, the dates, the times for those debates more than 3 months ago, we finally got a response, but the response was an ultimatum that defined the date, the time, the place, the moderator, the subjects that we could talk about, the subjects that we could not talk about, the furniture that would be on the stage, and every single one of them by Ted Cruz's request was going to be on a Friday night in the fall in Texas. We want as many people and families to be involved, and we want any Texan to be able to ask any question on any issue that's important to them. I'm confident that we'll be able to resolve the outstanding differences, and we'll have those debates. That'll be good for Texas.
Do you think he's going to change course on those Friday night debates? I mean, he said that part of it is because that they are working in the Senate.
He's missing votes in the Senate right now to be campaigning in Texas. So listen, if he cannot do weekdays, perhaps we can do this on a Saturday or on a Sunday. But one way or another, we're going to find a way to do this, because this election, this moment in our country is just too important for us to not find a way to be able to have that dialogue and allow the voters of Texas to make an informed decision.
Some of those issues I wanted to ask you about. You wrote an op-ed that appeared in the Houston Chronicle yesterday on criminal justice reform. You've had your run-ins with the law and write about this in the piece. For some of our viewers who may not know, what happened? What did you do?
Yeah, more than 20 years ago, I had 2 different arrests. One was for trespass, a jumped a fence at the University of Texas at El Paso. The other was a far more serious mistake. I was driving while intoxicated. There's no excuse for that, but those mistakes did not end up defining me. I was able to start a business, am able to raise with Amy, my wife, a family, able to serve on the city council, and now in the United States Congress. In some ways, my opportunities were the exception. We have the largest prison population on the face of the planet. We have people right now behind bars for the crime of possessing marijuana, which is legal in 29 states in the union. When they get out, they're going to have to check a box on an employment application form that will make it harder to get that job. They may not be able to qualify for student loans, and depending where they are in the debt that they're paying back to society, they may not be able to vote in this next election. That prison population is disproportionately African American and Hispanic. We need to make sure that we end a school to prison pipeline that begins as early as 5 years old in kindergarten. We need to end the war on drugs. We need to end the prohibition on marijuana.
I do want to ask you, because back in May you told the San Antonio Express News that this was it. If you lost, you would not run again. Has that changed?
No, we're all in on this one. Amy and I made this decision almost 2 years ago to go out and meet our fellow Texans and see if we couldn't do something better, something bigger than we are already doing for this country at this critical moment in our history. We knew we would spend the better part of 2 years away from our kids, Ulysses, who's now 11, Molly, who's 10, Henry, who's 7. I want to get back to them as soon as I can and be with them. So we're all in on this. The moment's too important, and the country needs us to win, and the generations that follow, including my kids and my conscience, and the people of the future are going to want to know that we did the right thing and we still had the chance. We need to win for all of them.
Even with the national attention, though, like if you were to lose, some politicos have said, win or lose, you could have some place in national politics. What's your response to that?
Not in the slightest interested at all. Focusing on winning this race with Texas for this country. We've got fewer than 2 months to go before that first early vote is cast on October 22nd. So we're all in on that.
Lastly, we'll end on a lighter note. Ellen DeGeneres has invited you on the show. I know you're going to be there on September 5th. Will you dance?
You know what? I haven't even thought about it yet. So, I'm grateful that she wants to have us on. Grateful for the opportunity to reach a lot of Texans who watch Ellen. So we'll see how that goes.
All right, we'll be watching. Congressman O'Rourke, thank you so much for stopping by the studio.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
There is more of our interview with O'Rourke. To watch the continued candidate conversation, just head to our website, SpectrumLocalNews.com. The owner of an Austin-based company that makes untraceable 3D printed guns says he's now selling the blueprints through his website despite a court ruling. He says buyers can name their price for the printing plans. As our Rena Diamante explains, it could put him on legal shaky ground.
Austin resident Cody Wilson says he's now selling blueprints that allow users to 3D print their own plastic guns.
Digital technology has immeasurably benefited the right to keep and bear arms. That's a message that I continue to advocate.
The online push comes despite a federal court order barring Wilson's company, Defense Distributed, from posting the plans online. Wilson says he believes that selling them instead of posting the plans for anyone to view or download for free will not run afoul of a Seattle federal judge's Monday order.
We didn't get an interruption to the access to these files. We only got the direct kneecapping and subversion of our First Amendment.
Citing his First Amendment rights, Wilson says buyers can name their own price, some offering between $0 to $15. 19 states and the District of Columbia sued the company, arguing 3D printable firearms pose a safety risk.
This is about these states desperately flailing for some type of internet power to prevent people from sharing things online.
We have to manage our firearm policy in a way that protects us.
Jill Switzer of Texas Gun Sense is concerned about how untraceable and undetectable the products are.
When we're talking about school safety, some folks think one of the solutions is to have metal detectors at our schools. How is that effective in any way if folks have weapons without metal?
In a statement, U.S. Congressman Lloyd Doggett says insecurity is the real product that Defense Distributed is distributing. But Wilson maintains he's within the law.
If there's a legal way to make guns like these, there's a legal way to possess them. The files themselves, though, don't really implicate this. It's legal no matter what.
In Austin, Rena Diamante, Capital Tonight.
Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton says election judges should be allowed to carry guns into certain polling locations. That's according to a non-binding opinion released by him today. Firearms are typically not allowed at the polls while voters are casting ballots, but Paxton says those who are licensed should be able to carry. The opinion is in response to a Republican lawmaker's concern about poll worker safety late at night in rural areas. Election judges are appointed by local party officials and are tasked with keeping the peace at polling places. Coming up next, we're dissecting recent polls in the U.S. Senate race with our panel of political experts. You're watching Capitol Tonight.